Look at this archival photograph of a farmer in a tobacco field. It captures the reality of agricultural life in 1929 rural North Carolina. Charlie Lawson lived this life. He spent years working as a tenant farmer before finally saving enough money to buy his own land on Brook Cove Road. He was living the American dream of property ownership. Days before Christmas, he made a strange financial decision. Charlie gathered his wife and 7 children and took them into town for an extravagant shopping spree, outfitting the entire family in brand new clothes. He also commissioned a professional photographer to take a formal family portrait. For a working-class rural household at the time, this was a rare and highly expensive luxury. To anyone looking from the outside, the Lawsons were a model of prosperity and stability. The portrait projected a successful, healthy household. And that specific projection made the violence of Christmas Day entirely incomprehensible to the people who knew them. This imposing wooden structure is a 1920s tobacco barn, much like the one on the Lawson property. On the afternoon of December 25th, Charlie waited by a barn exactly like this, when his 2 young daughters, 12-year-old Carrie and 7-year-old Maybelle, walked past on their way to visit an aunt. He stepped out and shot them both with a 12-gauge shotgun. He then made his way to the main farmhouse. He shot his wife Fanny on the porch before hunting down his remaining children inside. He killed his 17-year-old daughter Marie and his 2 young boys. Finally, he found his 4-month-old infant daughter, Mary Lou, and bludgeoned her to death. The violence was methodical, and the aftermath was ritualistic. Charlie went to each of his family members, carefully crossed their arms over their chests, and placed smooth rocks beneath their heads. He had intentionally spared his eldest son, Arthur, by sending him away on an errand. Hours later, Charlie walked into the nearby woods. Footprints later showed him pacing in a tight circle around a tree before he turned the gun on himself. He left behind a staged, meticulously arranged crime scene, but absolutely no explanatory note. He erased his own motive, leaving his community desperate to understand how a seemingly normal father could slaughter his own blood. Friends and relatives quickly grasped for a medical explanation. Months earlier, Charlie had suffered a severe head injury. Desperate to rationalize the massacre, the community theorized that the physical trauma had altered his brain, inducing a temporary state of insanity. This is the central dome of Johns Hopkins Hospital. To settle the rumors, authorities sent Charlie's brain to this specific institution, submitting it to the highest level of medical scrutiny available at the time. They ordered a comprehensive autopsy. The pathologists completed their analysis and delivered a definitive report. They found 0 physical anomalies, no brain damage, no tumor, and no neurological defect. Medical science ruled out a psychotic break caused by a physical injury. The massacre of the Lawson family was a lucid, conscious choice. This timeline maps out the week leading to Christmas 1929. When we line up the shopping spree, the rare photograph, and the choice to send Arthur away on an errand, these anomalies stop looking like erratic behavior. They look like the steps of a meticulously planned operation. The family portrait takes on an entirely different context. It was a calculated attempt to cement a specific, permanent legacy of his family right before he destroyed it. The real motive stayed buried for decades. It wasn't until investigative authors published books in 1990 and 2006 that local residents finally felt safe enough to share suppressed rumors. Close friends and neighbors came forward with horrifying confessions. They revealed that Charlie had been sexually abusing his 17-year-old daughter, Marie, and that she had recently confided to a friend that she was pregnant with his child. Furthermore, family members admitted they suspected Fanny knew about the abuse. The Christmas Day massacre was a brutal, premeditated cover-up. A patriarch realized his monstrous secret was about to be exposed, and he chose to annihilate his entire family to bury the truth. In the immediate aftermath, the public response took a bizarre turn. Charlie's own brother, Marion Lawson, opened up the blood-stained farmhouse on Brook Cove Road and turned it into a paid tourist attraction. Visitors flooded the property. Marie had baked a Christmas cake before she was killed, and it was put on display for the tours. The public's behavior was so grotesque that tourists began picking raisins off the cake to take home as souvenirs. The murders quickly entered folklore, inspiring hit country ballads and drawing eager crowds. While the public consumed the violence as a tragic spectacle, The reality of the incestuous abuse Marie and her family endured remained entirely unspoken. The story of the Lawson family leaves us with a dual tragedy. First, the horrific, hidden abuse, masked by a perfectly posed photograph. And second, a society far too eager to commodify violence as entertainment, rather than confront the darkness hiding in plain sight.